Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. For today's video, I thought I would show you two clips from a recent interview on Fox News about Giga Texas. The first part features the plant manager, Jason Shawhan. They walk through the factory. They talk a bit about the vertical integration of Giga Texas. What is it like to be working with production of a lot of new vehicles, especially ones that are introducing technology such as self-driving and utilizing that within the factory as well. And we have, of course, seen that during much of my drone flights. And this is a little view of what it looks like just as it's exiting the factory on that west side. They also got a chance to walk through both the Model Y and the Cybertruck production lines, and we get a chance to see what that looks like towards the end of that production line with the Cybertrucks in this inspection kind of tunnel. And shortly after this part of the video, the Cybertrucks would enter into the Cyber tunnel and then proceed over to that west side for final processing. That was a great overall view, and I'm really glad to see Jason highlighted because he's been doing some amazing work with not only the production at Giga Texas, but the construction at the same time. The second clip is from an interview with three of Tesla employees here at Giga Texas, John, Ryan, and Leah. John works over in the Model Y line. Ryan works on future products, and Leah works on the Cybertruck line. They had a wide-ranging conversation, everything about what inspired them to work at Tesla and here at Giga Texas. Also, some recent events that are going around on the news and social media and what impacts, if any, that has with the operations. They also get a little bit more in depth about what some of the technical challenges and how it operates here in the culture of Giga Texas and doing the production of the Model Ys and the Cybertrucks. They also talked a lot about the Optimus Robot coming online and how cool that is with just seeing all the future technology and just how inspiring it is to work at Giga Texas. And they ended up with a nice kind of a personal thought towards Elon Musk and what he means to the company of Tesla. So anyway, the screens has both of the links at the top of the screen. They're also in the video description. And if you would like to see the full-length clips, I thought it was a pretty well done series and highlights again the work that's being done at Giga Texas and also Tesla as a whole. So definitely worth a look. So now that you saw a little bit of the inside of Giga Texas, let's get into the drone, fly around, and see what the outside looks like today. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are considering purchasing Starlink, I would recommend that you use my referral link at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Good morning from a beautiful sunrise from the west side of the highway, looking back across towards the die shop, the cathode building. Also, we can see the main factory on the right, of course, with that beautiful sunrise. I thought this would be a great opportunity to start here and just get a good idea of where this clearing is in relation to the rest of the site. And what is the progress here today? Now, as I bring the drone down a little bit lower and get closer in, we can see the work that is underway. They have been preparing this grade for several weeks now, and as I've mentioned on several occasions, I'm being told that this is a welcome center, and I still don't have the permits for it, but that is what I see at least around the site, and this is what it looks like under construction today. And they are continuing to prepare this grade, and they should be continuing to work towards the drone or towards the west to increase the overall size. But with the earthwork equipment, this gives you a pretty good idea of the scale here. Of course, Tesla Road is just behind the drone on the left-hand side of the screen, and this roadway goes all the way down past the end-of-line facility to that outbound lot area. While we're up here on the north end, we'll cross over the highway. We'll take a look at this north side and just get a general idea of what the business looks like here today. There are a lot of these rack mounts for castings on the north end and also on the northeast and northeast side of the factory. They're all being used for all three variants. That would be the Cybertruck, the Model Y, and the new castings that we've seen for the Cybertrucks or Cybercabs, and they're also listed as RT for robo-taxi, so that is definitely something we'll keep watching, and later on the video we'll get many more close views of that. This clean section of the roof still hasn't had much change since they did that cleaning, and it's just something else I'll continue to monitor to see what they do. On the berm here, the work with the conduit and also some of that water pipe continues. You can see that silt fence at the bottom of the screen kind of delineating the construction site, and all this area that has had the earthwork and is had the pipes installed, and most of this section is continuing to work towards the south, as you can tell. And if they continue to work at this pace and maybe another week or so, we'll have them near the flagpoles and they'll continue on towards the south. But as we get closer in, this is a nice view of the work currently underway. We see the trenching, some of the trench boxes, and here the crew is working on this particular section. And we are expecting some heavy rains later this afternoon, so maybe that's why they don't have some of the equipment operational. But it is also early at the time of flying, so we'll have to just see what they do with the production, or the construction on that trenching. I did notice that where this new temporary platform, or the semi-permanent platform, is located, I could see inside. The door is open, and this is a nice view of some of the activity on the inside. You can see how well it has been built out, plus that mezzanine on the top. That is something similar that we see throughout a lot of the factory as they continue to add more floors, more capability for production within the facility itself. And looks like with the crane there, they're getting ready to maybe lift some items up. And that'll be important because on the south side, we will see that the long-standing temporary platform has been replaced now. But before we get there, I wanted to stop in here at the exit point for the Model Ys. And here's one coming out right now. In the intro, we talked about how they are driving from the inside of the factory out here. And this is a great example of this Model Y driving itself out of the factory through the ramp onto the busy road and then negotiating about 1.5 miles all the way to the west side. And they also have to deal with regular traffic. So it's quite impressive what they are doing with the autonomous driving. So let's continue to fly towards the south. And I wanted to show you that temporary platform, which has now been removed. And this is what it looks like here today. Of course, the windows have a lot of that staining on it, and also the wall panels because of that platform being there for so long. But now that's all going to be cleaned up, and they are also getting ready to lift up a concrete wall panel to replace it just above that window line on the top, and then they were going to extend that window line all the way through. Also, the 3 receiving doors with the load levelers look like they're ready to be into operation as well. And of course, they're going to have to stain the concrete panels so that it blends all the way in. But this is a great look at how all of this is coming together today and what it looks like without that platform. And you can just kind of imagine how this is going to come together with the window lines and kind of bridge the gap between the original building on the left and the new extension on the right. And as I pan the drone around, we can see that driveway that goes underneath that window line and just how the rest of this part of the extension looks. There's a lot more of those deliveries in the inside under the first floor through the glass that we could see as I brought the drone up. As I'm here, I just wanted to take a quick look at what they're doing with the solar panels. And they have this long line that's kind of just underneath the letters of Tesla, and it's continuing to work its way to the north. They have more of the rack mounts set out for the solar panels, but this is about where they have reached so far, and I do expect this to continue to go all the way up to the north. So I'm going to reposition the drone. We'll resume the narration on the other side of the highway. Here's where the vehicles finish their autonomous driving into these 4 lanes, and then the Tesla employees will get into them and drive them into the end-of-line facility for that processing. I think this is a methodology that they are not only just using, but they're continuing to refine it, and it will continue to grow more powerful. Cybertruck driving by and a Model Y. And today it looked like they had drivers in the Cybertrucks. I'm not exactly sure why, but the Model Ys are all autonomously driving. There goes another one, and there's a Cybertruck on the way towards us. And we'll see a little bit later in the video that Cybertrucks are coming back out of the Cyber Tunnel again. But for right now, this is what the superchargers and the canopies look like on the south end of the end-of-line facility. And also a nice look across into the outbound lot. If you recall from my Friday video, this lot was full of Cybertrucks and Model Ys. And I had mentioned that the standard procedure is to do a lot of the transport offsite during the weekend, and that has clearly happened. So the lot is empty. Production is resuming for the week, and we'll start seeing this fill back up. And it seems like that is the pattern that they will continue to use, at least for right now. And then as the Cybercab starts coming online and the lower cost vehicle, we'll see how that changes their operations. I'm going to turn back over towards this material staging yard and just try to see if there's any major changes. Most of this looks pretty much like it was last week, so not a significant amount of changes. We do see this middle section in the fenced area with all the equipment that continues to be unpacked and moved over to the factory. And then sometimes we see some deliveries. Looks like they're getting ready to start doing some more operations today with some of the equipment here. And we'll see that a little bit later in the video. More equipment, more items, and more superchargers here on this side. Now, as I bring the drone up over the power lines, I wanted to get a closer look at this clearing. We can see what is going on here. They have a silt fence in the bottom left. Some of the dirt is being piled up and stored here, and then that gray material is what is coming out of the tunnel boring machine between the caissons going underneath the Colorado River. And once those spoils are brought back up and processed, they're kind of like a slurry mix, and then they separate out the dirt, which is more of a gray material because they're going through rock, and then they bring it over here. And this is what that looks like right now. With the amount of gray material, it seems like the tunneling is definitely making a lot of progress and is most likely at and below and to the south of the Colorado River. This area, I noticed that almost all of the concrete vault items around this tent have been removed, and we're going to see those again over on the east side of the factory. The transformers really haven't changed much as far as their number. We do see more steel items being delivered on the right-hand side of the screen and some more on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, I'm going to bring the drone back over the power lines. As I mentioned before, they were getting ready to start moving some of this equipment. And you can see that there's a worker here and getting ready for that forklift to get back into operation. As we continue to fly back towards the factory over this part of the material staging yard, a nice look at that west warehouse on wheels with all the trailers. And if you look at the Cyber Tunnel directly ahead, you can see a Cybertruck emerging out of that tunnel. I couldn't quite get there fast enough to see how that operation was going, but it only looked like there was a couple of Cybertrucks at this point in time coming out of that Cyber Tunnel. But here's a nice close-in view of what that appears like. And I'll turn towards the south, fly along the road, and we'll take a look at what's going on with this caisson and some of the tunneling operations. And again, we see another Model Y autonomously driving on this road up to the end-of-line facility. deliveries of these concrete pipe segments today. These are what are being lifted up and put into the caisson, as you can see underway here with the crane. And then they put it onto that alignment jig, and then the hydraulic rams push these segments into the tunnel borer, and then it continues to push that through as the tunnel boring machine makes more and more progress. But I'm not going to try to look down into the caisson today because of the proximity of the crane, but this is a great idea of what is going on here on this part of the site today. This pipe with the purple wrapping is what is connecting through the entire berm all the way up to that north side where we saw that trench work underway. And I believe that'll eventually connect through this entire section. We do see this trench box at the bottom where I think that pipe will come through, and then the caisson in this fenced off section. More of the trench boxes being prepared around this excavation. One of them is in place. Nothing at the bottom yet, so it would suggest that we're going to see some of those pipes that are going to come through the berm, perhaps through this area. Be a great opportunity to see how they all connect it together. I'm going to fly over the cyber pond and just a quick view along the south side of the main factory and what that glass wall looks like. The grass is coming in very nicely green because of all the rains that we have been having. And as I mentioned earlier, we're expecting some pretty heavy rains this afternoon. While I'm here, I'll keep at a low altitude. We'll fly along the southeast side and take a look at the chiller plant and what are the cooling plant and how this looks today. It looks like just some materials and equipment are being stored nearby, but not really any work being done on that. On the left-hand side, we see that temporary platform, and I'll try to get a little closer. Some views inside. They are still holding off on all the glass installation here, most likely because they'll use this for equipment delivery inside, and it makes it easier with the glass removed. Also, it looks like there's that black panel just on the underside of that opening where that platform is located. Just to the north of the platform, we see more trench work where they've excavated, they removed some pipes. Looks like they may be putting in either gravel or concrete onto that pipe. And then near that, they got that white truck with the hose doing some more operations there, and another dump truck with some dirt probably to remove it as that work continues. But this is a good look all the way down at what this part of the site looks like today. Now I did notice just on the other side of the power line, so I'll fly the drone back over there. You look on the ground next to the road, all this area that was having earthwork done has been now paved with asphalt. And this is what it appears like. And I don't know if this is going to just be a wider road area or maybe a delivery section or what the intent is, but this is how it appears today. Of course, 4 of the 6 fans are in operation, so that gives us an idea of what Cortex is doing today. And as I continue to pan the drone around, we get a chance to see these ponds and this clearing, and also the parking garage, where today does not look like there's much activity on the roof or around it, at least not at the time of the flight. Perhaps there'll be more activity later today. As we get to the north side of the parking lot, we'll take a look at the trailers on the bottom. Also the staging yard with some of the materials. Not a lot of changes in the last day or so, but I am keeping an eye on that so we can kind of get an idea of where those materials are headed, and maybe that'll give us an idea of what their purpose are. Now we at the temporary test site, or this parking lot. Not much activity at all on the left-hand side. Of course, on the right is where the employees are just charging up their vehicles. But here, those 2 tents and those modified superchargers, still I haven't detected anything there yet to be able to report what is going on. The secondary main entrance still has that plywood on those doors as they're doing some additional work on the inside. And as I keep the zoom in, we'll fly up over towards the baghouse filtration plant and the melt plant, and we'll take a look at what is going on here, specifically with some of the castings. try to give you a close-in and zoomed-in view of some of these castings. Also, on the upper right, we can see the wheels that are being recycled and that whole recycling and furnace operations that's going on. Now, next to this red center post crane, I'm going to try to show you these castings. Those are for the Cybercabs. This is a side view and gives you an idea of the scale, especially with the worker nearby. Also, this is a great view of that loading kind of bin and what they're doing with some of the scrap aluminum and what they're doing with the scraps for the castings. And a lot of those wheels look like they're not Tesla, so they may be purchasing them, melting them down, and using the aluminum as a way of controlling costs. Now here we see some of the front castings in rack mounts and some of the rear castings on rack mounts on the right hand side. More of the front castings on the ground, and then we're going to see some more of the rear castings here in these rack mounts. All of these are for the Cybercab, and I have been getting some information that that is in fact what these are. This is a great view because the castings on the left are Model Y rear castings, and the ones on the right are the Cybercab rear castings. So you can get an idea of the size and the differences with that view. Also, just notice the number of castings that are here on this east side and some of the work that's going on in that melt plant, and also just what the baghouse filtration plant is looking like here today. I'm going to just fly over that, kind of bring the drone down a little, give you a bird's eye view down at what those castings look like, how they're being all kind of arrayed on this concrete apron near the berm. And as I continue to come down, this is a better view of these rack mounts with castings. All of these are Cybertruck front and rear castings, and as you can tell, they are being picked up and moved inside for production. So the production is definitely gearing up this morning. Here's that covered section that they've used some rack mounts for. I'm not sure exactly why. Some empty racks here waiting for use. And then zoom in, this is that body in white for the Cybertruck. It has been here for several months. I am not sure why. But they haven't elected to move it yet, and it just kind of staying here. I noticed some viewers found that on my last video and asked questions, and basically that's it. Here we see some of the stands for the new Model Y bumpers still on the north end of the paint shop, waiting for their opportunity to be used. And as I turn back here, just a closer lower end view of all of the castings. All of these are Cybertrucks and some of the rack mounts waiting for use. These are the old Model Y paint stands, and they're just being displayed here, ready for recycling since they're no longer needed. So here on the north side of Tesla Road, I want to follow this new road that goes around the original Megapacks along the power lines next to the electrical switch yard, and then it takes this turn and goes back underneath the power lines. It's got a small, almost like a bridge that was added in, and then that asphalt continues over to that new semi-permanent concrete batch plant. And this is the way that the concrete trucks and the materials delivery takes place, since next to the switch yard on the other side where the road used to be has been prepared for construction. As I continue to maneuver around here, this is just a great view of this operations. This is what's going to be supporting most of the concrete that's going to go into that construction site we see at the top of the screen to build out that new facility and do other concrete work. And that's why this was so important to get it set up and make sure that they had good access so they can continue this construction. While we're here, I'll fly along the north side, just looking to the south with a great overall view of what this construction site looks like. And I'll proceed up to the north just to kind of give you a little bit of a view of this site from further to the north. And we'll take a look at some of the activity that is going on where they had some of the dirt stored for several months, and almost all of that has been removed. Of course, the hills and the ponds that you see on the right-hand side of the screen is what remains from that sand and gravel mine. And then this area here has had a lot of changes with the grade work. Of course, all of the dirt that was stacked up on the right has mostly been removed. There's just a few more of the hills remaining. And then some of the debris here, some of the concrete that's been broken up. And that's going to be recycling, or they're going to use this to level up the entire grade here. Almost all of the equipment that has been stored here has been moved away, especially on the bottom right, as you can tell. And here is just some of the pipes, some of the concrete vaults, and some other building materials that are being temporarily stored. All of this is going to be part of the underground water management system that connects that new construction site on the right-hand side of the screen to this pond that you see on the left-hand side of the screen. This is the battery cell testing lab and also recycling laboratory. And it looks like there is a lot of employees working there today. Of course, the wade pit has got some water in it from the rains, but otherwise not being used. And the crash test facility is just continually in operation, testing all the vehicles. It does look like there's a lot of Cybertrucks that have been recently tested along that black fence, as well as some of the Model Ys. And one of the things that it's this conjecture on my part, but with all the castings that are being made for the Cybercab and they're testing out the production line, makes me wonder if we wouldn't start seeing some of those Cybercab early tests subjects brought over here to the crash testing facility for them to start doing some testing. So I'm going to be watching for that now that we see so many of those castings coming to fruition over by the casting machine structure. This is a great view across the east site towards the main factory, some of the workshops and trailers in this area, also the field kitchen on the right. And as we're looking up where Tesla Road will eventually be extended all the way through this area on the center and the right-hand side of the screen, we can also see some of those materials for that underground water management system waiting there. There are some deliveries coming in on the right-hand side of the screen. This is where all of those concrete vault items that were stored over on the far west side have been moved. And of course, these are the Aries tents or trailers. This is the company, I believe, that is responsible for building the new structure you see at the top of the screen. And this is where they've elected to put in their trailers. And I'll just continue to monitor that to make sure that that is in fact the case. Now that we have kind of gone around this area, let's take some closer views of the new construction site. Of course, we have that temporary warehouse at the bottom of the screen, and the structure is definitely emerging here with the beams and columns, the perimeter grade beam, and the roof decking materials on this part of the site. I wanted to bring the drone down a little lower and give you kind of a almost ground level view through the structure so we can see what it looks like inside. Now they have some of those wires that help with the structure as it's being built. You can see those all over the place. You can see the perimeter grade beam on the bottom with some rebar sticking up for additional concrete work. You can see how we have these diagonal frames throughout the building, and that adds for structural rigidity of the entire structure. And ultimately, you can see how the single story looks like from the ground level. So I'll bring the drone back up. We'll fly along this middle section between the die shop on the right and the new structure on the left. And as I kind of pivot around, this is a nice overall shot of how it is proceeding from the south to the north. And in my previous video, we talked about the grid pattern that the columns make and how those work throughout the site, and also just an overall estimate of the size of that structure. As I continue to maneuver around here on the east side looking to the west, we can tell that there's more materials for decking have been delivered on the left, more of the rebar cages being built here for footings within the structure. A lot more of the steel items painted in that white have been delivered. On the bottom of the screen are the columns. You can see the mounts, and then in the middle are the beams that make the roof structure. And they're just getting everything set up and positioned so that they can continue with the assembly and just continue that pace moving from the south to the north. As we fly up to the north along this perimeter grade beam, we can tell that there's some excavation work here at this northwest corner or northeast corner. Also, they're kind of watering down the dirt to help it with its compaction. And we can see where they have marked off more of the footings to be excavated in those red marks. And it looks like they have maybe 2 more rows of columns to go before all of the footings will be completed. Nice look at the perimeter grade beam here on the north end and the west side. And as I mentioned before, you can tell that this perimeter grade beam is a lot taller than the one on the east side. Looks like crews are preparing forms, possibly for more concrete, more steel being maneuvered by the cranes and delivered by the trucks, and just being stored here on this outside area as well as they continue that construction. As I pan back to the west, this is what this site looks like. All the hills and ponds have been removed, and it's mostly graded now. They're doing some work here near the old road and where they have the drainage pipe. But otherwise, this is getting close to the point where they might be able to have these power poles and those islands removed and then finish up the grade and then begin the work to extend that electrical switch yard. Also note where these trailers, the temporary Tesla trailers, are located. The grade work is really getting close to those trailers, and I would expect these to be moved at very soon. And we see some of that work already underway to relocate those trailers. More earthwork near the Megapacks. And as I get in closer, we get a nice view of what the Megapack system looks like today. Also, we'll see some workers doing the wiring, still connecting the Megapacks to the transformers. And then ultimately, we're going to see the wires going through the cable trays where that worker in the black and white is standing, and that'll connect into the electrical switch yard. So I'll pull away, and we'll get a nice view of the Megapacks with the main factory in the background. Well, that'll bring us to a close for today's view of Giga Texas. The intro was really cool with the interviews with the plant manager, Jason Shawhan, and the 3 engineers for Tesla. And I hope that you enjoyed that information and the look inside Giga Texas. As always, thank you very much for your support. I do very much appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.